She hid her heart-wrenching condition for 3 years until an amazing young doctor revealed hope. Claire stood by the fresh produce, the scent of ripe peaches filling the air, masking her own feelings of despair. She smiled brightly at a passing customer, though the corners of her lips felt heavy, like weights dragging her down. "Good morning," she chirped, her voice a practiced cheer. Inside Claire's world, every day was a turbulent battle, where fatigue slammed into her like a freight train, but she pushed through. She had to. Her son Jacob needed her. For 3 long years, she buried her debilitating health condition behind a facade of relentless optimism, determined to shield her spirited 10-year-old from the harsh realities of their struggles. The morning sun streamed through the grocery store windows, creating rainbows in the dust, but Claire's heart felt more like a storm cloud, heavy and dark. In Maplewood, whispers floated through the warm summer air like the scent of homemade pies. Claire could sense the worried glances as she stocked shelves, each tremor in her hand sending a message to the locals that something was off. They had every reason to be concerned. They had watched her become more fragile, yet the community's respect for her independence kept them at a distance. Words over coffee at the local diner buzzed like summer insects, each patron wary of crossing the line from concern to intrusiveness. "Have you seen Claire lately?" one voice would say. They'd shake their heads, sipping their coffee as they mused about her. It stung to know they worried, but she'd be damned if she'd ever let them see the cracks in her veneer. Just as the days melted into an unrelenting rhythm, a shift occurred with the arrival of Dr. Ryan, the town's new volunteer doctor. He was a gentle soul, catching a glimpse of Claire's pain behind her half-hearted smiles. Noticing the way her chest would rise and fall faster than it should, how her hands shook ever so slightly, he felt an undeniable pull toward her. Little did Claire know, the moment of reckoning loomed. It came crashing down one fateful afternoon when Jacob stumbled upon a hidden bottle of medication in a kitchen drawer, casting a jarring light on her carefully curated world. His innocent eyes brimmed with confusion as he clutched the bottle, his young heart unable to fathom its significance. "Mom, what's this?" Claire's heart sank, that familiar tightness suffocating her chest. She knelt before Jacob, forcing herself to meet his gaze. "It's nothing, honey," she croaked, but he wasn't buying it. In that raw moment, the walls started to crumble. Jacob's bewilderment turned to anger, frustration spilling over the edge. "Why don't you ever tell me the truth?" he shouted, tears streaming down his freckled cheeks. It was a wrenching confrontation, one that cut deep into Claire's soul, making the sorrow and fatigue she'd worked so hard to suppress explode to the surface. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Claire realized then that her vulnerability could be a bridge instead of a chasm. Perhaps there was love, real, community love waiting to be embraced. Just as she discovered this flicker of hope amidst her turmoil, she could sense the townsfolk shifting. They watched her, not just with sympathy anymore but with a collective determination to lift her burdens. The whispers morphed into conversations of support, making Claire truly see how strong they could be together. Standing at the precipice of change, Claire could feel the warmth of solidarity wrapping around her like a comforting blanket. Would she reach out, ready to accept this unexpected lifeline, or would fear keep her locked in the shadows? The answer hung tantalizingly in the air, just waiting for someone to take that first step. Claire swallowed hard, her heart racing as she glanced at Jacob's tear-streaked face. In that moment, the air between them felt electric, charged with the weight of unspoken truths. "I'm sorry, Jacob," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I should have said something." His wide eyes searched hers, a mix of confusion and disbelief. "But why didn't you?" His young voice quivered, and Claire could see the betrayal unfolding within him. She felt the sharp sting of shame, realizing how dense the shadows around her had become. "I thought I could handle it. I didn't want you to worry about me. I wanted to protect you." Her voice wavered as she tried to gather the remnants of her courage. "But what kind of protection was it?" A silence loomed, heavy with regret, yet Claire sensed something shifting, something slowly unfurling within her. "I don't want you to be sick. I want you to be okay." Jacob burst out sobbing, each plea piercing through Claire like splintering glass. She pulled him into her arms, feeling the warmth of his small body against her, a reminder of love and innocence clashing with life's harsh realities. "I'm working on it, I promise," Claire murmured, holding him tighter. The tears streamed down her cheeks, mingling with his, as they shared that fragile moment of vulnerability. Later that day, Claire stood at the kitchen sink, the warm water washing over her hands but failing to cleanse away the turmoil in her heart. As the sunlight streamed through the window, she turned to face the walls filled with memories. They built a life together in this home, a beautiful tapestry woven with laughter, warmth, and now, worry. She knew she had to make a choice. As terrifying as the thought was, maybe it was time to break the cycle of secrecy. Perhaps opening up to Jacob wouldn't just heal their rift but would strengthen their bond in ways she had never imagined. Yet, the thought of approaching the townsfolk with her burden still sent chills down her spine. What if she was met with pity instead of support? What if they turned away, leaving her more isolated than before? Still, that flicker of community love she sensed in the air whispered promises of hope, the kind of hope she had not dared to believe in for so long. With a deep breath, Claire grabbed her phone and looked through contacts. She hesitated at Dr. Ryan's name, considering what reaching out could mean. Could he help her tell her story? Could he guide her toward healing? Her decision felt monumental, a step away from the shadows that had confined her for years. As she pressed the call button, her heart raced. Each ring was a drumbeat echoing the uncertain journey ahead. What would she say? How could she briefly express the chaos she felt, and did she even have the strength to take this leap? "Hello, this is Dr. Ryan." His warm voice pulled her from her anxious thoughts, bringing with it a surge of strength. "How can I help?" Claire opened her mouth to speak, but the words wouldn't come. With hesitation, she took a deep breath and finally said, "It's about my health. I think I need help." In that moment, as she began to unravel the truth, she felt the shift within her, a tiny ember flaring to life. Could this act of honesty be the first step toward liberation from the darkness? What lay ahead remained uncertain, but Claire felt the first stirrings of courage rise within her. Would she finally embrace the support of her community, or would her fears drag her back into the shadows? The answer now hung on the precipice, waiting just out of reach. Clara's heart felt like it was pounding in her ears. Dr. Ryan's voice had anchored her, but now she was adrift in a sea of emotion, fear, and an odd, flickering hope. The silence stretched between them as she hesitated, the words tangled in her throat like a stubborn knot. "Take your time," Dr. Ryan said softly. "I'm here to listen." With a shuddering breath, Claire found herself grasping for words that felt both liberating and terrifying. She paused, wrapped in thoughts of Jacob, his face still wet with tears, and how desperately he wanted her to be okay. "I've been dealing with something. I didn't want him to see me weak. I didn't want to worry him. I understand. It's not easy to open up, especially to those we love," he replied, the warmth in his voice drawing her in. "I was diagnosed a few years ago," Claire continued, her voice quavering. "At first, I thought it was just something I could ignore. I thought it would go away on its own. But it didn't. And it got worse. I'm struggling, Dr. Ryan." The shame started to fade as she admitted her truth. She could feel it unraveling in that small kitchen, the heavy weight slowly lifting. "I feel like I've been living behind a mask, pretending everything is fine." The words spilled out, a torrent of all that she had held inside. "And now Jacob knows, and I want to be honest with him. But I'm scared." "Honesty is the first step toward healing," Dr. Ryan urged gently. "It can be hard, but facing your truth can bring you unexpected strength. You're taking a brave step just by speaking up." The knot loosened a little more. Maybe he was right. Maybe there was strength to be found in vulnerability. The air in the kitchen felt different now, tinged with a hint of empowerment. Claire breathed deeply, allowing herself to consider a future where she no longer had to hide. "I want to fight this," she said suddenly, the conviction surprising even her. "I want to be there for Jacob, to be healthy. I want to break this pattern. but I need help. You've already taken the most important step by reaching out, he reassured her. What if we set up a plan? We can work together to find the support you need both medically and emotionally. As Dr. Ryan spoke, hope bloomed inside her. She could picture herself leaning into her community, leaning on those who cared. Jacob wouldn't be lost in the darkness. They could face this together, side by side. Thank you, she said, her words barely a whisper but heavy with gratitude. I don't know where this journey will lead, but I want to try. Claire hung up and sat in the quiet. An unfamiliar sense of peace washed over her. She thought of Jacob's wide, innocent eyes and the honesty they would share moving forward. The prospect felt daunting, but she welcomed the challenge with open arms. As dusk settled outside, painting the sky in soft hues of orange and pink, Claire felt ready to take on tomorrow. Maybe the townsfolk would surprise her with warmth instead of pity. Maybe she could find a way to weave herself back into their hearts, but one thought lingered, a whisper at the back of her mind: could she actually give herself permission to be vulnerable? Would she show them the truth behind her bravery? Those questions danced in her mind like flickering shadows, beckoning her to take the plunge into the unknown. What awaited her at the next turn? Would she be able to embrace community, or would her fears drown her again? The next morning, the sun flooded Claire's kitchen, casting a warm glow over everything. She pushed through the heavy feeling in her chest and made a decision. It was time to let Jacob see her, truly see her. She needed to start preparing him for what lay ahead, to show him she was ready to face her struggles. As she brewed coffee, the familiar sound of the kettle whistling filled the room, a comforting background noise. But today, her heart raced not out of fear but from a budding resolve. After pouring 2 steaming mugs, she took a moment to breathe, the aroma wrapping around her like a hug. Jacob! She called, her voice echoing lightly through the hallway. The soft thudding of feet on the wooden floor met her ears. Just the sound of his presence brought warmth to her heart. He appeared in the kitchen, his tousled hair and sleepy eyes making her smile. Morning, Mom, he mumbled, rubbing the remnants of sleep away. Morning, sweetheart. Claire motioned for him to sit at the small kitchen table, and he did so happily, eyes brightening when he saw the mugs. I made your favorite. As they enjoyed their coffee together, Claire's mind raced. This was it. She recalled Dr. Ryan's advice about honesty. It would be hard, but facing the truth was what she needed to do. She could sense Jacob was aware something had shifted, but she hadn't shown him just how deep that shift ran. Jacob, she began, taking a deep breath, there is something important I need to talk to you about. He looked up, a hint of concern flashing across his face. Is everything okay? You've been a little different lately. Her heart ached at the worry in his eyes. It's about my health. I haven't been feeling well for a long time, and I've been trying to hide it from you. His expression changed, his brows furrowing deeply. You mean like sick? Like how Grandma was? Claire felt a lump form in her throat. Yes, it's a bit like that, but it's different, Jacob. I've been dealing with something, and it's been really hard for me. I don't want to burden you with it, but I think it's time I let you in. He leaned closer, as if instinctively wanting to shield her from pain. You don't have to go through this alone, Mom. I want to help. Tears prickled her eyes as she looked into his earnest face. I know, and I want you to know that you didn't do anything wrong. I kept it from you because I didn't want you to worry. Jacob placed his small hand over hers, an anchor amidst the rising tide of emotions. I'm worried anyway. But if you're sick, I want to understand. You have to let me be there for you. Claire felt a rush of love and pride. You're so brave, Jacob. That means more than I can say. With the morning sun streaming in, they shared a moment suspended in time, raw, revealing, and powerful. From now on, we'll face this together, she promised. Together, he echoed, a small smile breaking through his concern. In that moment, Claire realized that vulnerability wouldn't just invite worry, it could also weave a deeper bond of trust and understanding. She could feel the weight of the world starting to lift, but as the day went on and uncertainty loomed ahead, another thought nagged at her. What would she have to confront in her treatment? Would the community finally rally around her, Or would whispers of pity drown out her desire for connection? The clock ticked slowly in the background, the day pushing forward. Chores lay ahead, and so did the challenges she had to face. But she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a much larger journey, one she had to embark on with not just Jacob, but the whole town. Would they stand beside her when she stepped into the light? The sun dipped lazily in the sky as afternoon turned to evening, casting long shadows in Claire's living room. Claire sat on the couch, Jacob sprawled beside her, both immersed in a book he'd picked out from the shelf. But as the soft pages whispered against each other, Claire's mind was elsewhere. A part of her felt lighter for sharing her truth, yet the heavy weight of the unknown pressed on her. "Mom?" Jacob's voice broke the comfortable silence. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course, sweetheart. Ask away." He shifted a bit, his brow furrowing like he was gathering his courage. "What exactly are you feeling? Like, how do you know it's bad?" His question hung in the air, and Claire swallowed hard, the lump in her throat returning. It was a good question, one she had been avoiding even in her own mind. "Well," she started carefully, "I get really tired more than I should. Some days are worse. I have to push through even when my body wants to rest. And I feel strange pains sometimes." Jacob nodded, sipping his juice as he absorbed her words. "What are the doctors going to do? Will they make it better?" Suddenly, despair nudged at her. "I hope so, Jacob. I really do. But it might take time." He turned to her, his eyes large, as if searching for a clue to ease his worry. "Will you still be my mom? Like, what if they do something that changes you?" The innocence of his concern pulled at Claire's heartstrings. She reached for his hand, intertwining her fingers with his. "I will always be your mom. No matter what happens, I promise that I will fight to get better for you. You're my reason, remember?" He smiled softly, though it didn't completely erase the concern etched in his features. "I remember," he shifted, a spark igniting in his mischievous gaze. "You have some pretty good fight left in you. Like the time you beat Dad at that video game." Claire chuckled, the memory washing over her. "You mean when I finally figured out how to press the right buttons?" Jacob broke into a full grin, and for a moment, the worry began to dissipate. Laughter filled the room, a sweet echo of connection. But then, as if the heaviness of the reality they were facing crashed back, Claire felt the emotional tide rising once more. "Mom?" Jacob's voice cut in again, serious now. "If you need to go to the hospital or something, will you tell me? I want to know." Tears welled in her eyes unexpectedly. "Yes, Jacob. I promise to tell you everything. I won't keep things from you anymore." They sat tight together, and Claire felt a surge of hope. Sharing their fears had forged a stronger bond. But even as optimism flickered like candlelight, she questioned the response from their community, their friends at school, the neighbors, and everyone who might take on the role of support. As evening crept closer, Claire resolved to reach out. She needed to face this together, not just with Jacob, but with a wider circle. Her fingers trembled as she picked up her phone. The words of the people around her might either reassure her or scare her to death. But she had to know. "Mom, can we have dinner?" Jacob interrupted her thoughts, leaning closer with an expectant smile. "Sure thing," she replied, pulling her thoughts back to the warmth of the moment. There was power in facing challenges and in the relationships that held her up. As they headed to the kitchen, Clara's heart thudded rhythmically. She prayed for the courage to speak not just to her son, but to everyone waiting in the wings. Would she find the strength to embrace both support and vulnerability? In the quiet pause before dinner, an idea flared in her mind, prompting a question that lingered like an echo in the warmth of the home: what if I organized a small gathering? A way for people to understand? But the image of facing the community sent a shiver of fear spiraling through her. Would they be ready for her truth? Would they stand beside her, or would it all feel too heavy to bear? The clock ticked again, and as she prepared the meal, the evening deepened with uncertainty yet shimmered with budding hope. She felt a new journey unraveling ahead of her, one that could transform her into a stronger version of herself. The thought lingered in the air like the last rays of sun before night fell. What would she need to find the strength to truly step into her own light? Claire moved through the kitchen, her mind still spinning from the idea of a gathering. What would she say? How could she find the right words to explain what she had been feeling? Each chop of the onion echoed in her mind, a stark reminder of the bitterness and sweetness of her situation. Need any help, Mom? Jacob's voice pulled her back, his eyes bright with innocence, still unaware of the weight she carried. Just finishing up here, buddy, she replied, forcing a smile as she stirred the pot on the stove. The aroma of tomato sauce filled the air, wrapping around them like a comforting blanket. She hoped the warmth of the food might ease some of the chill from her thoughts. As they sat down to dinner, Claire noticed how Jacob's small hands enveloped the fork. Each bite he took was filled with enthusiasm, laughter spilling out as he shared stories from school. It felt like a beautiful distraction, yet her heart tugged with the urgency to share her truth, the truth that had been simmering below the surface. Mom, he said suddenly, his voice dipping into a serious tone. Are you okay? You look a little off. With that hopeful spark in Jacob's eyes, Claire felt her heart ache. He was so young and full of light, and she wanted to shield him from her darkness. I'm fine, sweetie. Just a little tired, that's all, she said, trying to sidestep his concern. He furrowed his eyebrow. You said that before, but you don't look fine to me. Claire's chest tightened. Kid's intuition was a powerful thing. You're right. Maybe we can talk about that later, okay? She suggested. She thought of the gathering again, of what it might mean to open those floodgates to both friends and family. Hero or villain, what would she reveal? After dinner, they settled on the couch again. Claire retrieved her phone, staring at the screen as if it held the answers. She hesitated, wondering if the community would hesitate, too. Would they accept her? Would they offer their support or just look at her with pity? Mom? Can we watch that superhero show? Jacob's voice broke through her contemplation. She felt a small wave of relief at the distraction. Yeah. Let us do it, she chirped, grateful for the escape. The familiar theme music filled the room, igniting a feeling of normalcy as Jacob snuggled closer, his warmth radiating against her side. But as the plot unfolded on the screen, Claire found herself watching herself in the reflection of the darkened glass. The character on the screen, courageous and invincible, was everything she wished she could be right now. But was it too late for her to be that person? The show went on, but her thoughts drifted back to her plan. Organizing the gathering felt like climbing a mountain without any equipment, unstable and daunting. She had the urge to pull back, to postpone, to hide. But deep down, she understood that honesty was the only way to carve a path, to allow both herself and her community the chance to grow together. As the credits rolled, Jacob turned to her, his eyes wide with curiosity. Do you think superheroes ever feel scared? He asked. Absolutely, Jacob. Even superheroes have fears. But they still fight just like I will, she encouraged, her voice steady. Will you be my superhero? Jacob grinned, the light in his smile igniting something inside her. Always, she whispered back, an unexpected resolve stirring with that promise. The tensions in her heart softened. Maybe it was time to turn her fear into strength, to let her community be a part of her journey. As the night enveloped them in its embrace, Claire felt an unfamiliar flutter of courage. She knew the gathering could be a chance to open up, to find hope in the faces around her. But a bigger challenge loomed. What if the unveiling of her truth meant facing her own vulnerability head-on? The question lingered, an echo in the warmth of their tiny living room. Would she be ready to reveal herself to the world, and to be truly seen? Claire woke up the next morning with a weight in her chest and a flicker of hope in her heart. The sun streamed through the kitchen window, bathing the room in a warm glow. She drew in a deep breath, feeling the familiar tug of uncertainty. Today was the day she needed to share her truth, to take that first step toward the gathering. Jacob bounded into the kitchen, enthusiasm bouncing off the walls. Mom! Can we make pancakes? His eyes sparkled with mischief as he grabbed the flour container, nearly tipping it over in his excitement. Of course, my little chef. Claire replied, her smile genuine as she joined him. Cooking with Jacob had become a treasured ritual, a moment where laughter mixed with the scent of breakfast wafting through their home. As they mixed the batter together, the process felt almost therapeutic. She could lose herself in the rhythm of whisking, pouring, and flipping pancakes. Jacob's silly faces made her laugh, and for a moment, the heaviness of her thoughts faded into the background. "Do you think superheroes eat pancakes?" he quipped, reaching for a dollop of syrup. "Only the sweetest ones," Claire laughed, feeling a little lighter, but as they sat at the table, the pancakes steaming and the sunlight streaming in, Claire's heart tightened again. How could she explain her struggles, the fears that nagged at her daily? The extra weight of secrecy hung around her, stinging like a fresh bruise. "Mom, are you gonna tell me what's bothering you today?" Jacob's voice broke through her reverie. His gaze was steady and sure, the type of tenacity only a child could possess. Claire hesitated, her fork hovering above her plate. She began, but the words twisted in her throat. She could see the concern grow in Jacob's eyes, and she wanted to reassure him, to protect him from what lay beyond their kitchen walls. "I'm going to a meeting tomorrow, Jacob," she said, choosing her words carefully. "With some friends and family. And I think it's about time I share some things I've kept to myself." Jacob nodded, a childless understanding mixed with a hint of anxiety. "Is it about being a superhero?" he asked, his small face scrunching up thoughtfully. "In a way, yes," Claire replied, the truth hanging heavily between them. "It's about being brave, even when things are hard." Jacob reached across the table and squeezed her hand, a gesture filled with the weight of unspoken promises. In that moment, Claire felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. Her little boy was already becoming the pillar she needed. The rest of the day passed in a blur of preparation. Claire dusted off old boxes in the living room, looking for photos, for memories to share. Each picture pulled her deeper into her past, reminding her of laughter, love, and the difficult roads she'd traveled. She began jotting down notes, her thoughts pouring out doubts, fears, hopes. As evening settled in, the house was quiet again, save for the ticking clock on the wall. Claire stared at her notes, each word a mini-confession. It felt liberating and frightening all at once. What if they didn't understand? What if sharing left her feeling more exposed? Only time would tell, and for the first time in a long while, Claire felt something blossom deep within her, a determination to embrace vulnerability. As she tucked Jacob into bed that night, his soft breaths filling the room, Claire whispered, "Tomorrow, I'll be brave." The promise hung in the air, a beacon leading her forward. But as she turned off the light and closed the door, a new worry nagged at her. Would she truly have the strength to face the reactions that awaited her? She stood at the threshold of the unknown, heart racing with anticipation for what was to come. Claire awoke the next day with the sun casting ribbons of light across her room. It felt like a gentle push into the day ahead. She could hear Jacob's laughter echoing from the kitchen. He was likely already busy with his breakfast routine, and the thought made her smile. As she got ready, nervous butterflies fluttered in her stomach. Today, sharing her truth felt like preparing to run a marathon. She needed her breath and her strength. Walking into the kitchen, Claire found Jacob animatedly flipping mini pancakes. He looked over his shoulder, his cheeks a bit smudged with batter, and grinned. "Mom! You gotta see my new technique." He spun the spatula with such pride, she couldn't help but laugh. "Looks like you've got some serious pancake skills, chef," she encouraged, feeling warmth spread through her chest. For a moment, it was easy to forget the weight of her truth. Jacob placed a perfectly golden pancake on a plate and offered it to her like it was a trophy. "See? Superheroes start their day with pancakes." "Absolutely," Claire said, taking a seat, but her smile faltered as she stared at the fluffy stack. What if the delivery of her truth didn't go as smoothly as these pancakes? She pushed the thought aside and took a bite, letting the sweet maple syrup soothe her nerves. After breakfast, Claire knew it was time to gather her notes, her thoughts, and most importantly, her courage. She watched Jacob dash about, gathering toys, seemingly blissfully unaware of the swirling storm inside her. "Jacob, are you ready for a big day?" Claire asked as they tidied up. "Yeah. But Mom, you seem a little off. Are you okay?" Her heart pierced at his concern. "I'm okay, buddy, just a bit nervous about some things I have to do." "Will I superhero sit with you?" he asked, his eyes twinkling. She chuckled at the thought, a superhero sidekick for her moment. If by superhero sit, you mean cheer me on, then yes. You can. They spent the morning preparing. Each photo she tucked into her folder reminded her of a past she had kept tucked away, the late nights, the quiet fears, and the small victories. As the clock drifted closer to the meeting time, her heart raced faster. Standing by the door, Claire took a deep breath. Jacob looked up at her, his expectant face a mix of excitement and worry. "Mom, you can do it. You can be brave." She knelt down to meet his gaze, feeling the warmth of his small hands in hers. "Do you really believe I can?" "Totally," he declared, nodding vigorously. "Okay," Claire whispered more to herself than him. "I will be brave." The drive to the gathering felt like a dream, her mind too preoccupied to focus on anything but what lay ahead. As they arrived, she spotted familiar faces. Friends and family gathered, exchanging smiles and hugs. Their warmth enveloped her, yet she felt exposed, like the pages of her life had been laid bare. The room was filled with energy, chatter, and laughter, yet the air between her and the others felt thick. Claire took Jacob's hand tightly, anchoring herself in his presence. "Remember," she whispered. "I'm sharing something important. Stick close to me, all right?" He nodded with determined eyes. As the time approached for her to stand up and speak, Claire felt the rising tide of emotion stirring within her. When it was her turn, she took another deep breath. Her heart pounded rapidly, but Jacob's unwavering gaze gave her strength. She stepped into the spotlight that felt so bright and yet so dark, a flurry of thoughts racing in her mind. The moment had arrived, and as she slowly spoke her truth into the crowd, she felt the heaviness begin to lift. But just as she began to unfold her story, the unexpected happened. A voice broke through, startling her into silence. "What are you doing here?" Claire turned, her heart racing at the sound. There stood someone from her past, someone she thought would never show their face again. The weight of the moment crashed down, punctuating the air with unspoken questions. Would her past threaten the truth she was trying to share? Would this change everything? The room fell silent, the laughter and chatter fading into an eerie stillness as Clara's eyes widened in disbelief. It felt like an unwelcome ghost from a forgotten time had come to haunt her. The familiar face loomed in her mind, dredging up memories she had tried desperately to bury. "Is that really you?" Claire managed, her voice barely rising above a whisper. In front of her, Liz, her childhood friend, stood there, looking older but no less vibrant, a stark reminder of a time filled with joy but also with pain. "I came to see how you were doing," Liz said, her tone measured, yet there was an underlying tension, a question hanging just beneath the surface. Claire's heart raced, emotions clashing like waves against a crumbling shore. Jacob squeezed her hand tighter, sensing his mama's shift in mood. "Mom, are you okay?" The innocence in his voice was a lifeline amidst the turmoil. "I'm fine, honey," she reassured him, but she wasn't sure herself. Each heartbeat echoed Liz's presence, reminding Claire of the wounds she thought had healed. "What are you doing here?" she asked again, trying to mask the tremor in her voice. Did Liz come out of genuine concern, or was it something more? Did she know? Did she remember? "I heard you were sharing your story," Liz said, her eyes softening but still clouded with something undetermined. "I just thought, maybe it was time for us to talk." Clara's face turned hot. "Talk? What did that even mean? Why now?" "Because," Liz responded slowly, "I want to understand. I want to be here for you." A wave of emotions crashed down on Claire. She wanted to scream, to push her away, but she also craved closure. "Do you really?" Before Liz could answer, the bustling room felt like it was closing in on her. Claire fought for composure. This gathering was supposed to be about her and her truth. And yet, the past was unraveling right in front of her. Everyone," Claire called out, her voice shaky but louder now, regaining attention. "I'm not finished yet. I still need to share my story." The crowd looked on with rapt attention, a silent witness to her internal battle. Was she about to reveal everything? Share the fears that kept her up at night? Liz stepped forward, almost pleading. "Claire, please. You don't have to do this alone. Let me support you." Tears pricked at the corners of Claire's eyes. After keeping everything bottled up for years, she suddenly felt exposed again. Layers of uncertainty began to unfurl in her mind. I don't need your support, Claire said, shaking her head as anger mixed with heartbreak. Not after everything that happened. The silence in the room thickened, as if everyone held their breath. Claire's heart raced, each second feeling like an eternity. Would she allow this confrontation to overshadow her moment? Just as hope teetered on a knife's edge, Claire glanced at Jacob. He looked up at her with such unwavering faith, his small hands still gripping hers. She felt his strength, the very reason she had come here today. With resolve flooding back, she turned to the crowd, her people. I'm ready to share my truth, my heart, my fears, and how they shaped who I am today. She took a deep breath, eyes fixing on Liz, who seemed to shrink into herself, the atmosphere thick with unspoken words. And for those of you who care to listen, it's about time I revealed what I've been hiding. The silence was palpable, the tension so thick it felt like a tangible wall. Could she do this? With her past standing at the door, ready to enter again, but before she could continue, the room door swung open, and in stepped another unexpected visitor. Excuse me for interrupting, the newcomer declared, his voice firm and clear. But I have something important to add to this conversation. Claire's heart dropped. Who was it this time? Was her shield about to crumble completely? She felt Jacob's grip tighten as anticipation hung heavily in the air. The next wave of emotions was just beginning to roll in, threatening to spill over. Would this new revelation derail everything? Claire stood at the center of the room, the air thick with expectancy and tension, her heart beating loud against her chest. The faces of her friends and family, gathered to witness her transformation, were a mix of support and surprise. Liz's presence loomed like a shadow, yet she was determined to embrace the light of honesty shining around her. Who are you? Claire demanded, her voice steadying in the wake of uncertainty. The newcomer, a man with a kind face and reassuring eyes, stepped forward, acknowledging the weight of the moment. I'm Dr. Jared, from the hospital. I heard about your struggles, Claire, he began, his tone warm yet earnest. I want you to know that you are not alone in this fight. There is a treatment plan ready for you, but it requires courage not just from you, but also from those who love you. The room buzzed with a mix of surprise and interest. Claire felt the walls, once so tight around her, start to loosen. You mean, help is really available to me? Her disbelief shimmered in her eyes, and with every breath, hope stirred within her. Yes. There is a community of people who care, who want to support you in every way possible. But it starts with sharing your truth, Dr. Jared continued, his voice strong and encouraging. You told Jacob that you wanted to fight this. Now, let us show everyone you're ready to do just that. In that moment, Claire saw it all, the warmth of the familiar faces surrounding her, the glimmers of surprise, but mostly, the unwavering love. She thought of Jacob, his innocent eyes that reflected pure belief, believing in her bravery even when she doubted it herself. All right, she breathed, the weight of fear beginning to lift. This is my truth. As Claire began to share her story, the words flowed with a newfound strength. She spoke of her diagnosis, the years of hiding, the weight of secrecy that held her captive. With each word, the memories spilled forth, each struggle, each tear, but also each act of resilience. I thought I was protecting my son, she continued, eyes sweeping over Jacob, but in truth, it was I who needed protection. I was so afraid of being weak that I let my fears define me. But that ends today. I want to break free, not just for myself, but for Jacob, for our family, and for all of you here who care. A hush fell over the room, but it was filled with connection, with understanding. Claire could see faces soften, and she felt the unity wrapping around her like a safety net. With every confession, she felt lighter, her past no longer a chain, but a shared burden. I want to invite you all into this. Help support me as I navigate this journey. There is so much power in community, and I'm ready to accept that help. The crowd erupted with encouragement, with whispers of understanding and kind nods. Liz stepped forward, having become a bridge rather than a barrier. I'm sorry for the pain I caused, Claire. I want to be a part of your journey, for both of us to heal. If you'll have me back. Claire's heart swelled. Forgiveness was a step she hadn't anticipated taking, but the warmth of the moment felt like a reciprocal healing. "We can be superheroes together," she said, extending a hand. The gathering morphed from a daunting event into a celebration of growth, acceptance, and newfound hope. Laughter mingled with tears as Claire embraced the support around her. She was met with hugs, encouraging words, and shared stories of their own struggles. As the evening wound down and the sun dipped below the horizon, Claire felt the transformation take root within her. She looked at Jacob, who beamed with pride. "See, Mom? You were a superhero today," he shouted amidst the smiling crowd. "Yes, we fight together," Claire replied, feeling unshackled from the fears that had once tightened their grip. The road ahead was filled with uncertainty, but one unbreakable truth remained: Claire's heart was light enough to soar, shared with the vibrant circle of love that surrounded her. "Promise me one thing," she added gently to Jacob, "let us always be honest with each other, all right?" "Always," Jacob smiled. Holding her hand tightly with the night settling in, Claire felt ready to step into the future, hand in hand with her son, her community, and perhaps even the echoes of the past that could now, finally, find peace. Now, let us not just end this journey here. You need to subscribe now to catch our next powerful story, showcasing transformations that inspire. Leave a like now to fuel the journey ahead and help us reach more hearts through this content. Seriously, it makes a difference. Comment below on how this story moved you or any personal experiences you relate to Claire's journey, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this powerful transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand how pivotal your support is. Let us keep this community growing.